morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, the shaded Jerry Hamilton.
Well, it's because the full number one ranked recruiting class will now be in off-season work starting today. Devin Coleman, Jordan Coleman, Nick Townsend all reported. And the sad part about it, Jonah Williams will be now going to football today and this week. So the full number one ranked recruiting class will be fully in workouts this week.
That's right.
Get ready for the 25 football season.
That is correct.
And there's a good read this week. So I had to have
There you go. Well, we'll get to more of that here in just a little bit. But first, we are 89 days away from kickoff. So tell us who your favorite number 89 is. There's some good choices today. And then tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking. Get those questions in. We're going to get to those here in just a little bit. But first, let's start with the bad news, unfortunately, and that's that Texas baseball falls yesterday, guys, in the Austin Regional. As you can see here, 7-4 yesterday. Of course, they won that first game against Kansas State. They put on a show 15-8, but just couldn't get it done against UTSA. And before we really talk about it, I got this clip here from Schloss talking about the season as a whole. I want to play it for you guys.
Proud of the way our guys competed. Pretty banged up, whichever team is, but really proud of our team. And as I just told them, no disrespect to the teams in the past, but this is the first team that Texas has ever had to play through the SEC and to be the SEC champion and to host a regional. We all understand Omaha is where we all want to end up, but you go 44-14 in our league doesn't make it a bad season. Just not the right ending. So
there you go.
You know, they had a great season. There's no doubt about it. At least great regular season. Unfortunate postseason, not just in the regional, but also in the SEC tournament. But they just gave. You cannot do what Texas did over the weekend and expect to play and win against elite teams. And I'm not saying that UTSA is necessarily elite, but they're solid through and through, and they proved that over the weekend. Texas gave up way too many free passes. I mean, whether it was hit, they had 3 hit by pitches in a single inning. Walks, poor play in the field, particularly up the middle of the field, and then untimely hitting. I mean, on Saturday they had 15 men left on base against UTSA, and I stopped counting last night when it got to 10. So Texas just did not have timely hitting. There are a number of issues, but here's what I would say overall about baseball. And Blake, I know you're our baseball guy. That you and Jeff Howe designated baseball guys, but I would just say that now, as much as when Augie was there and when Cliff, you get the feeling that the baseball program is in the right hands. And what I mean by that is the recruiting is going well. You see a path to them being consistently great. And so I think as a Texas fan, that's what you want to see, is the idea that this is going to build on itself a little bit. This first season is not just an outlier, so to speak. And I think that that's going to be important as we move forward with baseball. But I do think that Texas baseball is back, so to speak.
And, of course, we're going to have a lot of baseball coverage today over on ontexasfootball.com. I want to tell you all that as well. Some really good stuff that Jeff Howe and I have planned. But we also need to talk about softball, gentlemen. They had one heck of a weekend. It's the first time they beat OU in the Women's College World Series, so that was huge for them. They sent Oklahoma to the losers bracket. And then, of course, Texas plays this morning, Jerry, I believe 11 a.m. against Tennessee.
Yeah, look, we let Friday, the flip side of the weekend, Friday, I gave a hat tip to Oklahoma softball because I don't care how it happened. The way they beat Tennessee that's winner's DNA. That's just a different belief. That's how you are a dynastic type level program, right? Those type of wins, and they have done it consistently. So we left Friday with saying huge game coming up. So tip of the cap to Mike White. That's a huge win over Oklahoma. And I'm not sitting here saying Texas is going to go on and win a national championship. But what I am saying is it took Kirby Smart a long time to get over the hump against Nick Saban when Alabama was the dominant program in college football. And that was a huge win for the softball team and Mike White. It's a great victory for them. And now, obviously, Texas is in the driver's seat to get to the national championship game series. But Tennessee has to beat Texas twice. And they will play back-to-back if Tennessee wins game one. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, pitchers have thrown a lot at this point in the tournament, especially Pickens at Tennessee, right? So it's going to be two great pitchers, and Tennessee has to beat Texas twice. Texas in the driver's seat to get to the national championship. On the other side of the bracket, Oklahoma has to beat the $1 million pitcher twice. I mean, that's essentially what's going to happen. So they're going to have to beat her twice to get there. And, hey, we'll see what happens. But we're guaranteed of an SEC team playing for the national championship.
Yeah, and it's worth noting Texas has beat her 3 times on 2 different teams.
Yes.
So that's important to say. All right, Bobby, let's go back to number 89 here for a moment. Who's your favorite?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing some. I did this list a couple of years ago, and going through them all and thinking about number 89. One name came up more often than not, and that was David Arledge. David Arledge played on 2 national championship teams for the University of Texas, 69 and 7, defensive lineman for Coach Royal. He's out of Richardson High. I had to do some recon because I wasn't around quite then. He's out of Richardson High, played at Richardson High. I was looking through these old team photos and roster numbers. You know who one of his teammates was on that 1971 team? I think he played from 68 or 69 to 71. Mattress Smack was a walk-on for the University of Texas. Jim McIngvale, famous kind of gambler these days, but made his name at Gallery Furniture down in Houston. He was on those teams with David Arledge as well. But congrats to that number 99. The current number 99 at the University of Texas is Ty Boatwright, a wide receiver walk-on out of Kingwood High School. His parents both proud UT grads as well. I think his mom played some sports at the University of Texas. So excited about that. And I want to mention as part of Ty Boatwright and those guys, Jerry mentioned this as well. The players back on campus officially had to be back last night. So summer football has started, workouts. It's also started for Jonah Williams, by the way. That's a positive note for a football team after the baseball team lost. That's probably the only one that will get out of that. But to that point, Blake, we need to get on to some other news. There's been 20-plus offers in the high school ranks yesterday at an elite camp. We got some news and notes we want to go over. There's been another mock draft for 2026 that Jerry wants to talk about. But before we go there, I want to say thank you to our sponsor each and every Monday, brought to you by our friend John Donovan over at Longhorn Wealth Management. John is a proud Texas Ex's Life member whose wife and 6 siblings are also UT grads. It's his family passion to what led John to brand his firm Longhorn Wealth Management. He dedicates it to providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services and solutions to Longhorn families and friends across the nation. While disappointed in last night's season-ending loss, John wants to congratulate Coach Schlossnagle on a great first year in winning the SEC championship. Fortunately, we still have the women's softball in play as they advance to the Final Four in their College World Series. So, to celebrate both of our hardball teams' great seasons, John is offering all OTF fans the opportunity to take advantage of a free 90-minute private consultation to learn how working with a certified financial planner can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. Call John, Longhorn Wealth Team, at 972-707-4900 or go online, www.longhornwealth.net to schedule your free 90-minute private consultation with John today to build, manage, and secure your own financial future. Hook 'em.
All right, well, let's talk recruiting, Jerry. It was a big weekend for Texas. They got another big weekend coming up. What do you have for us regarding yesterday?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about that in a second, but I wanted to mention the players being on campus because there's a piece to that is there's normally about a 48-hour period because these guys take physicals and whatnot. So the guys who are just getting to the program, just reporting, doesn't mean they actually start workouts today. I just want to be clear on that because they do a lot of the physical fitness test, the EKGs, all that sort of stuff when they arrive at Texas, and there's normally about a 48-hour period before they can start working out. Obviously, we know from past things that have happened, like Gary Johnson in basketball. He had an enlarged heart that showed up through his fitness testing, EKG, all that. So I'm not saying anything like that's happening. What I am saying is there's a waiting period for about 48 hours when these guys report. So will the full 85 or 84 scholarship guys be going through workouts today? Probably not, unless they came into town late last week and did all their tests. So that's just something to pass along. Recruiting wise, yeah, I mean, look, they had a camp yesterday. They offered a lot of 2027 and 2028 guys. Texas is now, just to be clear though, there's different offers. Texas has now offered over 100 prospects in 2027. These are more getting involved in the recruitment, getting guys on campus, kind of positioning yourself to be in the recruitment phases. There's some tremendous players at the camp. I'm not saying there weren't, there really were. A lot of those top guys already had offers. You know, your John Meredith, your 5-star corner, your Peyton Houston. Some of those guys like Kennedy Brown, some of those guys already had offers from Texas. A lot of new offers were given out by the Texas staff. A couple that I want to kind of talk about before we get to this weekend's official visitors, which to me is the big news here. Official visit weekend start for Texas. Alvin Mosley from Crawford High School, the new school in Fort Bend ISD around Arcola, Hightower area. Alvin Mosley has D1 offers in basketball and football. Really good two-sport player, wide receiver / athlete. Will lean to football. Texas offered him. So Fort Bend kid. Aiden Starling, a receiver at Shadow Creek, really good player. I saw him when he was at Iowa Colony. 27 receiver, really good player in that same area of Houston. That where Pearland kind of falls into Arcola in that area now. Two tremendous prospects, and Eli Johnson, the safety at Cibolo Steel in the San Antonio area, is going to be one of the best in the country. So he was offered yesterday, and a few others in 2028. Micah Rhodes, the running back from Klein Oak, his grandfather Bobby Rhodes was one of the better pass rushers that come out that played at Texas in the 80s. He was offered. He's been offered by about everybody. And then some people on social media, especially what I posted, Jai Storm, the offensive tackle from Converse Judson, 6'7", 365. He was offered yesterday. It was his second time on campus. But then there was guys like Caden Scott from Roosevelt, one of the top junior offensive tackles in the country, going to be juniors. 2027. He was back on campus. He had been offered long ago. So it was a good mix of guys. Texas has another camp coming up June 5th, the day before the first official visit weekend. I think we'll see more quarterbacks in 27 throw there, and we'll see where Texas goes. We'll get to some of those specific questions on some of that stuff later in the show when we bring questions up. But then on recruiting this weekend, which is the big for me, 13 official visitors scheduled right now to be on campus. One change on there. We had James Johnson on there. That looks like it would be June 20th. That's the defensive lineman out of Miami Northwestern. He looks like he will be June 20th. But the rest of this visitor list is on right now. We'll see if there's any late addition this week. If anybody doesn't show up, Xavier Crowell, obviously. KJ Edwards, Xavier Crowell. Derek Cooper's yet to set his OV. Carson Baker from Langston Hughes yet to set his OV. Those are your four running backs right now. Xavier Crowell was at Georgia last weekend. I think Alabama's the favorite. He's at Texas this weekend. He's at Auburn the 13th through 15th. FSU midweek maybe. Alabama on the 20th through 22nd. Cohen Brown, kind of a wild card recruitment, a late May offer by Texas, a one-time USC pledge. He was at Utah this weekend. He's got Texas this weekend. He'll be at Notre Dame next weekend. Same weekend, Caden Finley is there. And then he'll be at Ole Miss June 20th. Malachi Lee was at Alabama last weekend. This is one of the best offensive linemen in the country. He's as good as anybody, in my opinion, as a prospect. That's shown by Texas and Georgia flying out to Honolulu to see him. You don't do that unless you believe a guy is about as good as anybody you're recruiting. Lamar Brown was at Miami over the weekend, defensive lineman out of Southern Lab. He's at Texas this weekend, A&M, and then LSU. Dylan Berrymon, the defensive lineman from Monroe, Ouachita. He's at U of H midweek, Texas this weekend. That wraps up his scheduled official visits. Jamarian Carlton out of Temple was at LSU over the weekend. Texas this weekend, A&M, then Baylor. He already visited Texas Tech. Bo Jandro, linebacker out of Chandler Hamilton. His brother's committed to Oklahoma. They're the favorite. I'm not sure. I want to say this. Doesn't mean Texas is going to push for all these guys this weekend. I want to be clear about that. Now, one guy there at Texas is absolutely all in on, as they are Crowell, Malachi Lee, Lamar Brown, is Devon Benjamin, the do-it-all DB out of Oaks Christian Westlake Village, who's at Michigan over the weekend. We expect him to visit Oregon, USC, maybe Ohio State. He's at Texas this weekend, had a great visit in April. Travius Stevenson's committed to Georgia Tech. Georgia, it would be the team to upset Georgia Tech there. Hayward Howard is still coming in this weekend. The Texas commitment did not change his OV to the 20th. He tentatively, LSU's trying to get him on campus June 20th. We'll see if that visit happens after this weekend. The kicker, Jake Collette, out of the Georgia. Texas leads for the punter out of Prosper. Texas leads SMU for. He has offers from a few schools. Then the long snapper who we had on Coffee and Football, thanks to Tron O'Neill, he'll be in this weekend with the specialists. So we have 13 OVs this weekend. We're still at over 50 for the entire month of June. So this is 3 weekends in a row that Texas has big visit weekends. And there are some top targets coming in this weekend. And we'll see if Texas makes big pushes for any of the others the next couple of weeks.
Hey, Jerry, I got a question for you on Cohen Brown, wide receiver out of Waxahachie. That's you turn in your article this morning on Texas football. You termed it a wild card recruitment. Can you give folks a little intel on what's going on there? And it was a later offer than Texas has done with other players, but this is not unlike what Steve Sarkisian and his staff have done overall. When it comes to they see a guy, they don't care whether they've offered him. They try to get the mix immediately, and that's obviously what they did with young man from Waxahachie.
Yeah, well, I think my thing is it adds another wide receiver visitor to the list. I mean, Jalen Lott and Caden Finley are your guys. Mason James also scheduled. They're, I think, your top 2 guys in state. Mason James scheduled to come in the 13th through 15th as well. We'll see if Aaron Gregory. I'm one that believes wide receiver recruiting is going to carry into the season this year for Texas. I'm not saying they don't have 3 commitments in the boat necessarily. 2, I think they'll definitely get 2 kids, but one, then where does that go? I think wide receiver recruiting is going to go into the season as of today. We'll see if that changes.
What about Devon? Oh, go ahead, Blake.
I was just going to say we have a lot of people also asking, going back to this past weekend, about Gunnar Rivers. Can you give a little intel on that?
Yeah, so Texas had a few quarterbacks on campus. Gunnar Rivers was one of those. He worked out for the Texas staff. He didn't report an offer. We'll see what happens. I think there's going to be a couple other guys come in this week on Thursday and throw for Texas staff. And then we'll see if they make a push for anybody. Peyton Houston was in. He has an offer from Texas. Malachi Ziegler was in. He kind of got out. No, the media did not get to speak with him. We'll see if he provides an update today on how things went for him at Texas. He was down with his parents. Phillip Rivers was with Gunnar Rivers. Peyton Houston, I believe, his parents came in town as well. But we're kind of on watch here to see who else is going to come in Thursday and throw for Texas on this June 5th camp. So I think quarterback recruiting is in the balance right now for the Longhorns.
There were reports, including one from CJ, that Gunnar Rivers didn't necessarily look great yesterday. Do you read into that? I mean, it wasn't just CJ, a bunch of people, but apparently Peyton Houston looked good. Didn't really hear much about Malachi Ziegler. Do you read into any of that? Because when I watched Gunnar Rivers' film, just his film, Jerry, I think he's as good as anybody because he throws with people around his face really, really well. Peyton Houston has that, 7-yard, 8-yard deep drop where he rarely throws with people in his face. I think it's going to be interesting where Texas goes at quarterback this year. I really do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is going to come down to the fit too. I mean, because look, you have KJ Lacey in 25, you have Diabell 5-star committed in 26. That scenario may not make sense for everybody, and that could affect whether Texas offers a guy or not, because they have those conversations in person, to see, is this a fit? Because the quarterback take in this class, it's really about a fit. And everybody says, well, isn't everything? Yeah, but especially when you have had the level of quarterback recruiting Texas just had the last couple of classes. It really comes down to fit. They're going to want somebody who is going to have a little patience, who the expectations are set accordingly. So I think that's going to factor in big in this 26 class. As far as Gunnar Rivers, I'll let colleges make mistakes on him.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Jerry, as we looked at that list, also the guys that came in and got offered this weekend, were you surprised at the sheer number? The thing that you and I talked about last night on the live stream that I think's legitimate, right? 21 guys in total, 14 from 27 and 7 from 2028. I think it's indicative of Texas just getting better players to their elite camp, because this basically doubles what they usually offer coming out of elite camps, Jerry. So 21 total. That's about double of what they normally is. This, I think it's indicative of them getting and attracting better prospects at an earlier stage to their elite camp. And that's a factor of winning, essentially. 2-time national semifinalists. What, you agree with that?
Yeah, no doubt. I think there's more talent on campus right now than there ever has been for Texas. And they're at an earlier age. You look at the 2028 guys that were offered as well. I mean, there's multiple out-of-state guys who were offered yesterday, and I think that is really big as I'm bringing up that list. Obviously, your IMG quarterback Jaden Wade, who's not from Florida or not from Bradenton, Neiman Lawrence from Miami Northwestern. That was a second visit, right? Janarius Canton is from Center, Texas, just transferred to IMG, but Jackson Vaughn, the edge from Bergen Catholic. I mean, you have a number of out-of-state offers, and Texas is definitely, we saw it in April too. Texas has just they're getting more guys on campus nationally than ever before. And you know what? I think that also, there's also an element to this. I think more of the in-state kids are scheduling their Texas camps and visits a little earlier. Now, all of them weren't there yesterday. It's going to be spread out over 3 camps because these kids get out to a lot of places. But the difference is, Texas is now getting these kids on campus, to your point, Bobby, more frequently and more of these guys. And that one is when Texas is able to look. They may offer 200 kids in this cycle when all's said and done. And you may look back on it and say, well, 60, 70 of those first offers weren't guys that Texas necessarily recruited long term. But what they're doing, I mean, Nick Saban used to offer 350 kids a year to get them all to campus to evaluate them, and then to start getting down to that real list for official visits and building a potential board out. And I think we're seeing Texas do the same thing. It's a great place to be. But when you're at the Ohio States, Alabamas, Georgia under Kirby, when you can get all these guys on campus, your evaluation process gets that much tighter and that much better. And I think that's where Texas is at. And look, these won't be the last offers made. You have kids coming in this week, this Thursday, and June 12th. So we know there's going to be probably 15, 20 more 27 offers made here the rest of June. And some kids may just come in unofficially in between when they can, coming through areas. We're going to see more offers made, and it's just tightening and even bettering the evaluation process for Texas, because they're getting a firsthand look at all these guys in their setting, as well as going out and seeing them in the high school setting. So it makes for better evaluation even than Texas has right now.
Hey, fellas, we normally, when people post their birthdays, anniversaries, whatever, we say happy birthday, but we need to say a special happy birthday today. Alfio, his birthday is today, so happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
Hope you have a great one.
Alfio Randall Veazey played at the University of Texas. He's off and on here in the mornings with us. Happy birthday, buddy. I hope everything's going well with you, man.
Good stuff, for sure. All right, Jerry, before we move on, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Gooder this morning.
I can do that. Why the Gooders? Well, the number one recruiting class in football is now taking part in off-season work this summer. Why Gooder? Stylish studies starting at $25 a pair, 1 year free warranty. I got to read it, 30-day free returns. You don't need it. Lightweight and comfortable, 100% polarized, no slip, no bounce, from vibrant colors to sleek styles. There is a pair of Gooders for every personality, designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and much, much more. When do you wear your Gooders, Sonnies? On a run, playing pickleball, playing tennis, on a hike, going to the beach, vacation time, in the summer. If you drop them in the water, $25 per pair. You're not going through you're not swimming under the ocean, hands in the sand, looking for your $300 pair of glasses, $25 a pop. Because they're so affordable, you don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair for every occasion. If you need a new pair of Sonnies before that summer vacation, Gooder is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/OnTexas and use code OnTexas for free shipping. I have to read it. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Throw it in the trash and 1,000% satisfaction. Nope, Gooder, I added a 0 for you. That's gooder.com/OnTexas and use that code OnTexas for free shipping.
And then, thank you, Jerry, by the way. And Bobby, if you'd let everyone know about Pesty.
Yeah, absolutely tired of dealing with bugs, ants, insects of any kind around the house. Me and my wife, Jenny, we use Pesty. Nobody likes all the bugs, but using a professional service can often be more expensive than you want. That's why there's Pesty, an affordable, pet-friendly, self-service solution. Other pest control companies charge about $800 or more a year, but with Pesty, you can get started at just $35 a treatment with a customized plan based on your location, bugs, and climate. They mail it right to your door. Pesty is easy to use. Everything you need comes in one simple package. The kit includes a sprayer, mixing bag, gloves, and with instructions, you can complete it all in a short period of time. Pesty gets rid of over 100 types of bugs, from spiders and ants to roaches and scorpions. Pesty is kid-friendly and pet-friendly. The pesticides they ship are fully registered and have been used in hospitals and schools across the country. Pesty offers a 100% bug-free guarantee or your money back. If the bugs don't go away, they'll give you a full refund. Nobody likes being bugged, especially by bugs. And when they do show up, you want them gone and gone fast. With Pesty's do-it-yourself pest control, you can protect your home easily and at a quarter of the cost. It's summertime coming up in Texas. That means a lot of bugs. Protect your home from bugs with Pesty. Go to pesty.com/OTF and you get an extra 10% off your order. That's PESTIE.com/OTF for an extra 10% off. Be done with the cockroaches and ants of all kinds with pesty.com.
Hey, Blake, I wanted to read this. Christine Anderson. My Gooder stayed put on my face this weekend riding in the boat. That was enough of a sell for me. I asked for a second pair for my birthday. I need some black ones instead of wearing my Bevo Visions. There you go. There's another ad read for Gooder today. Thank you, Christine Anderson.
Hey, they have the new Jerry, they have the Longhorn ones back now too.
They have
they're
more in stock now.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I wanted to say this before we get on to PFF first round draft and all that. The newcomers to Texas that are just moving in, they're moved in over the weekend. Nick Townsend, Jordan Coleman, Devin Coleman, the third triplet, Isaiah Coleman, also as well, preferred walk-on. Matthew Caldwell, Troy quarterback, Murad Watson, Syracuse transfer, Mason Shipley, Texas State kicker. Jack Entry's got in a couple of 3 days early and started working out with Arch Manning and the guys, per CJ. Levon Johnson, Emmett Mosley. Those are all your newcomers. So a number of guys. And look, a number of impact winning guys that weren't there for the spring are now in Austin. And as they get ready to start this June and July of off-season work with Torrey Becton headed into the 2025 season. So full team is here. And it's go time. 89 days.
Hey,
It makes
awesome.
me excited, man. It makes me excited.
I mean, less than 3 months.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
crazy. Crazy to think about. Hey, before we do move on to the PFF, we told Alfio, but also need to say a happy belated birthday to another guy that's been on our show, Marcus Myers. He says happy birthday to Alfio, and then he says his was this past Friday. So
happy birthday,
Marcus. 29 years young, Marcus. 29 years young.
All right, fellas. Well, going to the PFF stuff here. They put out a mock draft, and I'm not going to show you the whole draft just because it's a little hard display wise, but I want to show you the horns that they have in the 2026 draft. And we're going to start here at the top, right off the bat. Number 2, Cleveland, as everyone shudders. They have Arch Manning going to Cleveland. We'll take these one at a time.
Archie Manning would literally fly to Austin and lock Arch's doors before that happened. Okay, he wouldn't let him out of his condo.
Who do they have going number 1 if they have Arch number 2?
Oh gosh, Bobby,
that would be different than most, Blake. That would be different than most. I agree with Jerry. He would lock the door and throw away the key.
So they have Caden Proctor going number 1 to the Giants.
Yeah, from Alabama. Yeah.
And then Caleb Downs, obviously from Ohio State, going to the Titans at number 3.
Yeah, look, I'm on record. This is not happening. It's going to be in a lot of mock drafts. Some people like Todd McShay have said we're not putting him out there because we know he's not going pro until 27. So it's going to be all over the place, but we do not. We believe Arch Manning will start 2 years at Texas, but fun to look at, especially this one. That's hilarious.
Especially let's go join Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Shadur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Browns are just going to keep picking quarterbacks until they get one. And it may be a while because he ain't going there next year. So,
by the way, Salty Q, yeah, look, this is what we've been saying the whole time. And we have to read the mock drafts and kind of at times I'm going to make fun of them. It would be the shock of my career if Arch Manning left after 1 year. That's just not the way this family is approaching his development. They haven't at all. They haven't throughout the family history. Nah.
I agree with Jerry.
They aren't changing now.
Jerry, I will say this. You never say never. So that's fair. But he goes and they win. They win 16, 17 games this year or play 16, 17 games this year. I don't know. We don't have this crystal ball that we can see the future. But if Texas just makes the playoffs but doesn't go all the way, I don't see Arch Manning leaving. I think that's what we all believe and have been led to believe. He wants some 25 plus games as a starter at the University of Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, our second Longhorn on the list, you don't have to go down too far at all, is number 6, Carolina Panthers. They take Anthony Hill, linebacker, obviously, from Texas.
It's going to be interesting to see where Anthony falls after the season in mocks, because is he going to be considered a 3-down linebacker in coverage? Bobby, is his pass rush downhill ability going to take center stage for him? I think this is a big developmental year in space for Anthony Hill in coverage. Talent, no question. But I think where we're talking about in all these drafts moving forward the next, 8, 9, 10 months are going to be what does that junior year look like in coverage, developing as a linebacker, as that's a continual development for a guy that's always been see ball, hit ball, such a great downhill player. There's developmental piece that comes with that too. That's over a period of time, not add water instant draft pick. And so I'm very interested to see where Anthony Hill is going to fall after his junior season, because it's going to be first round in my estimation, unless he puts up some bad times in a combine testing or something. But he's going to be a fluctuator with people, depending on how they see him as a fit within schemes.
To go that high, he's going to have to be drafted somewhat as a pass rush guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Micah Parsons wasn't drafted that high. I mean, not that they were right about Micah Parsons. They were wrong. I mean, the Cowboys got a hell of a player. The thought that I have here is that linebackers rarely go this high anymore. It's kind of like, you got to be really rare as a running back to go this high, right? I think the same can be said at linebacker. And the only way you go this high as a linebacker is if you can rush the passer, which Anthony Hill can do, Jerry.
Absolutely can do.
And so I feel like it may be a tad high. I also think that Anthony Hill has to prove that he can play the run better on a more consistent basis. He had some slips last year in that regard and didn't fill necessarily as well as he wanted to. So let's see how he's come along and just his general development as an overall linebacker, not just as a pass rusher or a disruptor. Because ultimately that's where, when I think of Anthony Hill and guys like Colin Simmons, and we talk about this all the time, elite defensive players aren't just good at their position. They're what we call disruptors. They change the game. And Anthony Hill, whether it's intercepting a pass, causing a fumble, sacks, he is a disruptor. Colin Simmons is a disruptor. Those kind of guys, you get those guys on your teams and they can change games. And so I can see him going this high, but I think he needs to prove himself a little bit more as a true linebacker as well.
And then the third and final Longhorn in the first round of PFF's mock draft, guys, goes all the way down to number 23, the Los Angeles Chargers. They have them taking Malik Muhammad.
You agree with this? You agree with this number? Because I think it's, without knowing his speed, his true speed, that's going to be the question mark around him. He goes out and runs a sub 4.4. He's gonna go here. He runs a 4.55. He's not, Jared.
Yeah, I think a couple of things depends on who else is in this draft at corner. Number one, the level of season Manny has as a junior, which I expect him to have a really solid season. The season he has, and then who are the other corners in this draft? And then I think it gets to what Bobby said. Yeah, it's the testing numbers. What does he run? Obviously, the corner from Alabama a couple of years ago, I can't remember from Pensacola's name escaping, ran 4.52, 4.53, went in the first round, really good player. Somebody in the chat will bring up his name. I forgot his name. I can't believe I forgot his name. But he went in the first round as a low 4.5 guy. Obviously, L cones, shuttles, all of it plays into them with your tape, your interviews, and all of it. But I expect, seeing who the corners are in this draft, like CBS has a mock draft that came out this morning too. By the way, it doesn't have Anthony Hill or Manny in the first round. In the corner in this draft, they have AJ Harris from Penn State, who's very good. Jamad McCoy from White House, Texas, who went to Oregon State, I believe, transferred to Tennessee. Really good player. I saw him at a high school track meet. And then they have the corner from South Carolina in it as well. So a lot of it's going to depend on the season he has and the depth of corner in this draft for me. And then Bobby's point, how does he run? How's he going to test? Because I do think there's a level to it that he's got to hit the high 4.4s or 4.5 flat, 4.52 to be in that conversation. Unless he has a great Terry and Arnold. Thank you, Patrick Page. Unless he has a great season on the field, which Terry and Arnold overcame that lack of maybe ideal combine testing numbers.
And I was looking at the rest of the draft guys. Obviously, we talked about Downs. I was trying to see who else on here will Texas face this upcoming year. The only others that I see besides Downs, they have the Texans at 20 taking Jake Slaughter, the center out of Florida.
Stud.
And then they have the Bengals taking Reed Adams, the guard from A&M, at 25.
Good player.
And then Tyreek Stapp, the edge out of Florida, going 28 to the Chiefs.
Very good.
There's 4 players on this early mock draft from PFF that Texas will face next season.
Yeah, we talked about it last Friday. I think Cole Kubelik had his top SEC defensive lines. We talked about that. Like Tyreek Sapp's going to appear on some first-round mocks. Florida's, their depth is going to be their challenge, but on the defensive line, their first 4 guys are all draft picks. They're all really good players. Sapp has St. Thomas Aquinas kid has a lot of ability. I saw him in high school at Under Armour camp. They have a couple of guys on that interior too. They got some disruptors on that defensive line. But yeah, and then, you look at the CBS mock draft I was just looking at, it's pretty much the same. It's more guys that in the SEC that they're projected to go in the first round. The Texas doesn't play this. Like, they have Garrett Nussmeier going 1 to the Saints. I know there's going to be all over the place on that. Caden Proctor, obviously Alabama's not on the regular season list. Same for there's about 4 or 5 Clemson guys in this. Auburn, the offensive lineman, LT Overton, the D lineman from Bama. So a lot of the guys from the SEC, CJ Allen, linebacker from Georgia, is a first-round mock guy here. Texas will play him. South Carolina, no. So many more than half of the first-round picks mocked right now. Texas is not play on the schedule in the SEC.
Good stuff. All right, let's jump over to some super chats this morning, fellas. And I want to start with this one from David Parcell. Thank you, David. Will there ever be a true freshman to start at tight end in the Sark era?
That's a good question.
I think it's a really good question because it's
because
not
the portal changes the game.
Yeah, portal changes the game, and Texas's ability to attract high-end portal guys or high-end tight ends generally, given Sark's recent success with tight ends, not only with JT Sanders, but with Gunnar Helm. I don't know. I mean, David, we'll see. I mean, Emory Winston had a really good spring. Nick Townsend coming in now. But Jack Endry's caught, 56 passes last year at Cal?
Yep.
The guys over at Pro Football Focus ranking the number 2 ranked tight end returning in the country. It's going to be hard to see it happening this year. And to my point, if it doesn't happen this year, then whoever is going to have to sit there and look at Emory Winston and Nick Townsend next year, as well as probably Jordan Washington. It's going to be it's a tall task. We do need to mention this if you missed it. Mark Bowman, one of the top prospects overall for Texas on the board, committed to USC late Friday. We did not mention that on Friday's Coffee and Football. The reports out there are that Bowman might be going for somewhere around $7 million over 3 years for a tight end. Look, USC right now doing some work in high school recruiting financially, and I think some people are grabbing it. We'll see what that all means. But Texas missed out on Mark Bowman, a young man that out of modern day that Texas thought they had a real shot at, as well as Georgia.
And David Parcell asked, the reasoning behind my question is, why did he commit to USC? I think 3 years, $7 million, there were calls made to other schools and nobody else matched. I mean, that's for the chat to discuss. I think in freshman year, it's very hard to get an ROI on that. Brock Bowers was 56 catches for 885 yards and 13 touchdowns as a freshman. That's what you better put up.
Yeah, especially if the house settlement comes to fruition. This is what we're talking about. Because then you're literally Jenny, my wife's like, that's a good reason. I mean, that's a really good reason, in my opinion. And so I'm not begrudging at all. The problem here is if the house settlement comes through and high school players are not bound by the house settlement yet. So any deals that they strike right now are going to have to be redone once the house settlement. I mean, because the guy's not on your roster yet. It's not like a portal transfer gets put in beforehand and they can forward pay it. That's not how it works. And so they're going to have to, if the house settlement happens, USC is going to have to redefine what NIL means for everybody else, or they're going to have to redo their deals with these guys. Whatever happens. USC will not be the only one that has to do that. Texas may have to do it at times. But just keep your eyes on that. And by the way, the house settlement could come down any minute or any day. So we literally could begin tomorrow's show with, House settlement is done. So everybody's waiting on that to either be approved or disapproved, and we'll go from there. USC is willing to take that risk, obviously. So I don't know that Texas or some others are.
Our next super chat comes from Drew Lockhart. Thank you, Drew, as always. And he says, Bobby, you mentioned USC and Miami being private schools, but what makes them any different regarding NIL and the money they are promising kids before they step foot on campus? Also, God bless Mike White. Hook 'em.
They don't have, you don't have to, contracts that you enter into with third parties. You don't, like, we didn't know. I'll give you Baylor, for example. But Art Briles' contract was not public. So USC's and Miami's contracts don't necessarily have to be public. They should be under the House settlement now with, divulging that to certain parties. But private schools don't have to divulge their information to third parties. There's no Freedom of Information Act, whereas Texas or Tennessee or Florida or, you name it, Michigan, Ohio State might have to. Now there's some work afoot at various state legislatures to try to keep NIL deals from being public, but that's one of the pieces. And yes, go Mike White, by the way.
11 a.m.
I want to just transfer 1 minute to softball because they play this afternoon against Tennessee in the semifinals. They have to win one of two to advance to the national championship series. How about Jolie Mitchell, who came on with us?
That was awesome.
She hit 2 home runs on Thursday, and then Saturday she goes and hits another bomb. Really happy for her. This is when the play. That's not Jolie Mitchell, obviously, but
No. I was just putting up the game info for today.
Yeah, 11 a.m. So literally within a couple of minutes, a couple hours, actually Texas will get going. But Jolie Mitchell was really just a great interview. And I will say this, while softball doesn't necessarily make money for the University of Texas or what have you, it's an Olympic sport. And that's what you would be losing if you would be losing individuals like Jolie Mitchell to the University of Texas if you didn't have all sports. That's my take on it, right? Is you don't want a university to lose people like that. You really don't. And so I'm proud that she's a Longhorn and happy that it's one of the reasons why I'm just telling you, it's one of the things that makes Texas, Texas. People like that.
For those that missed her interview with us Friday, she's from a high school graduating class of 52 people in Rosebud, Arkansas. Ski Breck, if he's on here, and I think still at the Eiffel Tower, he knows where Rosebud, Arkansas is, but there's not a lot of people that know where Rosebud, Arkansas is. 52 in her high school graduating class. And she from there went to Notre Dame and is now at Texas. Obviously, the softball field will be named after her at Rosebud High School in future years. She's earned it. But really cool story. And this is my thing. There's a follow-up to a conversation we're having earlier, Bobby. J. Dobbs said, will Deloitte really say $7 million is a comparable market value? So this is what's going to be interesting for if this House settlement comes down, is then how many of these contracts is Deloitte going to try to kick to the curb? I mean, that's what's going to be fascinating to me, is to see where all this goes and then the litigation thereafter.
That's the whole point that I'm making.
Yeah.
Is that it's not going to be approved because look, he may be worth that. You can argue that Mark Bowman may be worth that as a player. I mean, he's a great player. We all agree with that.
100%.
You cannot argue that he's worth it in true NIL. So how do these colleges walk that fine line? I don't know. Maybe USC has it figured out, but nobody else does. I kind of doubt that. So we'll see if the House settlement goes through or not.
All right, Bobby, tell us about one of our newest sponsors. a good one. Omaha Steaks.
Oh, big fan here. I've got to be honest, guys. Big fan of Omaha Steaks. I've done this for my father, I think, for about the last 8 years. This is what I give him on Father's Day. And so with Father's Day coming up, remind yourself what's special about your dad, being a dad or a father figure in your life. Think about it. Backyard grilling with dad. And a lot of people have difficulty actually shopping for a Father's Day gift. When it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. Dads want steak. Mine does. He likes it from Omaha Steaks. A recent survey shows 75% of Americans agree there's no better way to spend a Father's Day than grilling with the family. From USDA certified tender steaks to burgers and more, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience, guaranteed to secure your spot as dad's favorite. Shop Omaha Steaks and give dad the legendary Heartland quality he deserves. Plus, our listeners, and I love this, get an additional $35 off with promo code ONTexas at checkout. You have to put in ONTexas at checkout, and some restrictions do apply. But for the larger packages, $35 off by using ONTexas. It's very convenient. It's delivered straight to your parents' house. In my case, I've done this literally 8 years in a row, and my dad and mom love it. They store some of it for later use it throughout the year. And so if you've ever given Omaha Steaks as a gift, you know what people like and how parents appreciate it. Look, the steaks, my dad actually likes the hot dogs as well as the chicken too. It's a variety of options. And so whatever you want for this Father's Day, make sure you take care of your father. I'm suggesting Omaha Steaks. Go to www.omahasteaks.com to shop delicious Father's Day gift packages. Use promo code ONTexas at checkout for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details. And a big thanks to our advertiser, Omaha Steaks. It is delicious.
Also need to tell everyone about fuel. If you're constantly on the move or just tired of skipping meals, maybe you don't have time for Omaha Steaks. Fuel has you covered. Their Black Edition ready to drink is a total game changer. It's a complete meal in one bottle, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar. You're going to feel full, focused, and ready for your day. No prep, no cleanup, just grab and go. Now, Huel's already sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. New customers get 50% off plus a free gift at Huel.com when you use promo code ONTexas. And I use it. My mornings are hectic. That's where it comes in for me. It's a lifesaver. I just grab it out of the fridge, give it a good shake, and I'm ready to go. So start saving time and money like me without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers. That's 15% off plus a free gift, and it's a nice gift when you use promo code ONTexas at Huel.com. Again, Huel, Huel.com. Please see the description for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled.
Hey, I have to answer a question real quick. Sarah Wong asked, have y'all ever heard of Rosebud, Texas? Absolutely. Rosebud High School, Little East of Temple. They had a couple of D1 football players come through there in early 2000s. They won state one year. I can't remember as 01, 02, or 03, but they actually had some really good athletes come out of there for a period of time on the football field.
They also have, if I'm not, hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm right before I say this. Because I actually have been by the high school. And no, it's not the same. It's not the same. Never mind. I thought I had something that was interesting there, but I forgot. It was actually Glen Rose High School, not Rosebud Lot.
That is Daniel Campbell, right?
Yes. Yeah. Totally forgot about Rose. I forgot about that.
We're going to get to some more questions here in just a moment. But first, guys, I got a little baseball note. Outfielder Matt Scott has announced his intentions to transfer from Texas. The transfer portal for college baseball opened yesterday. I'll go ahead and tell you that's one of 4 names I am expecting to happen. today or tomorrow. One thing to note, Scott was not on the roster toward the end of this year. So make of that.
How many, Blake, are they expecting any major portal transfers at this point, at least?
I don't think so. The 4 that I'm expecting, I wouldn't say are major in any way. I mean, that's no disrespect to those 4 kids, obviously. Just, you know, they haven't contributed at a level that you would, you know, justify them being major. But a lot also, Bobby, as I said a couple weeks ago, will depend on this house settlement. You know, baseball is just so up in the air right now because of the house settlement. So we'll see what happens to that. And that could really affect things down the line. But as for now, just expecting about 4 guys, maybe.
I know we hit on it all the time. It's crazy that this house settlement agreement hasn't come down one way or the other. We're June 2nd. I mean,
less than 30 days from when it's supposed to be instituted.
We talk about obviously the 5-star guys and the guys Texas is recruiting are going to be what we talk about here. But think about being a Power 4 that's not one of the bigger NIL programs right now. They're in total limbo, knowing what they're going to have, what they're going to be able to do in recruiting from a football standpoint. I mean, and all sports are, but football obviously takes center stage. Imagine if you're in Iowa State, you're depending on that money to compete. What happens if it doesn't go through? Because you're midway through a recruiting class right now. Are you going to have to shift gears one way or the other? It's wild that we're at June 2nd and nothing has come down. Thank you, Roll Left, for that 2002 Rosebud lot beat Cisco in the state title 2A and 2A.
More super chats to get to this morning, fellas. And speaking of baseball, Jack says, now that Jonah is fully football, is he 100% cleared for football?
You know, the hamstring's not 100% healthy, obviously. So I'm sure he'll be limited for a little while as far as the running stuff goes. Because Sarkisian and them want him to be 100% healthy is what they want. So, but at the same time, you have to build football strength through that at the same time to make it through a football season healthy, especially with the fearlessness he plays with.
I've got to say this, and I think it's fair. Jonah needs to get in football shape. It's different than baseball shape. And I don't know that he's ever spent – well, he hasn't. We know he hasn't spent time anywhere in his career just specifically getting ready for football. This will be his first time in a college weight room specifically for football, right? I'd love to see what kind of, and Rod talks about it all the time, armor, right? Yeah. You got to put on your football armor. That's what the weight room is for. That's different than baseball. And so as athletic, I mean, he just oozes athleticism. He really does. He's got to put that armor on and begin to put it on in the next couple of months. I mean, we just mentioned less than 3 months away, 89 days. He's got to start putting that on, or else there are going to be lingering injuries, Jerry.
Because he plays with reckless abandon as an athlete. And those guys have to be finely tuned, strong athletes. Because
they don't know
Bobby, he's playing in a position of space, full speed contacting people. I mean, you got to be strong at this level in the SEC.
Sure. And the thing is, and this is what I would say, guys like him don't know any different.
They can't.
Right. Yeah. So
you take away his greatest strength.
Yeah, he needs to put some smart, not necessarily smart weight, just smart muscle, like armor. Rod put it the best way you can. It's like you use that time to put some armor on for the season.
I mean, look, what's going to happen before you ever get to the games, scrimmages, full speed downhill, a Jonah Williams, Christian Clark collision. There's no guarantee who's getting up from that. I'm just here to say that. Or Baby Rhino catches you. It starts way before the games because this guy and some people in the chat that probably saw him play at Galveston ball and football, he only knows one way to play. That is who he is. And that is what makes him a tremendous player. And in both sports, by the way, is that fearlessness that he has. But that comes with a price if you're not where you need to be physically and not trying to focus on two sports. I think that's a tough thing to do. It's why it's tough for all these kids in college to focus on two, is because football is such a physical, violent game that you have to be really tightened up from a physical standpoint in football. Somebody asked if he's been practicing at all. He said it on some safety DB team meetings in the spring when his time allowed.
All right. Let's see here. We got a super chat from MP Houston. Thank you, MP Houston. He says Texas still objectively the best college baseball program of all time. Only school with College World Series titles in 5 different decades and 2 different centuries. Sorry, SoCal and LSU. I'm confident Sloss gets our next one.
I think this is what I talked about, right? Is you feel, even though they went out early, there's nothing that tells you that they aren't going to be better over time than they even were this year. I mean, you kind of get that feeling. I feel like I felt that way after Texas got to the semifinals against Washington in football. Like, I thought Sark had turned the corner and started collecting the type of talent you needed, and he had actually put it to work. And they finished 12-2. You got the feeling that the snowball was finally rolling downhill. Schloss got the snowball rolling downhill a little earlier than anticipated. But great recruiting class, proved it on the field, or on the diamond, excuse me. I think that baseball, to your point, MP, is in really, really good hands. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, look, I mean, end of the season was rough. Maybe some health had to do with that, obviously, because you got to stay healthy. But to win the SEC in year one, literally nobody was betting on that. So my advice to Sean Miller is lose to Duke, because if you beat Duke to start your career at Texas, then boy, expectations are going to be running. Take the L, game one, baby, and move on.
Our next super chat comes from Dawson Yarbrough. Thank you, Dawson. He says, thanks for the great content, guys. Hey, Jerry, who are some realistic flip targets to keep an eye on? Good question.
I think there'll be some recruitments that go into the season. And I say that because, look, Grayson Littleton didn't have an offer till November of last year. Justice Terry had never visited Texas till the season. There's a few other guys like that. We talked about last night, Jonah Williams was not even thought to be possible for Texas in June 1 last year. He'd been predicted to 4 other schools throughout the process. I would say of the guys who are visiting, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, Texas is going to stay on Jabari Mack at wide receiver. He's been to campus a lot out of Destrehan, committed to LSU. If LSU season doesn't go great, he's going to visit Texas June 13th, LSU on the 20th. So could Texas flip him? I'm not saying that they can or can't flip him now. What I am saying is I think receiver is something I'm going to watch go into the season a little bit. So some of these flip targets may play out more into the season than they do in July. I'll say that.
Hey, Blake, for the folks that didn't see this earlier, can you pull up that visit list that's upcoming for this weekend? Again, that graphic. Because I wanted to ask Jerry about one player on that. Travis Stevenson. I know you mentioned him a little bit. He's committed to Georgia Tech, and Georgia is thought to be a real competitor here. Blake Gideon, the former Texas safeties coach, now the defense coordinator at Georgia Tech, has him committed. What do you know about him? Because he could be a flip candidate, and we don't even know it because we just don't know much about him at this point, right?
Yeah, he's a guy that he's a guy that picked up everybody, all the big schools in the spring. So he was at Florida State over the weekend. He's at Texas this weekend. Then he's got Auburn, Georgia Tech, and Georgia. He's a guy that played a lot of high school quarterback. He's a really talented defensive back. He's a really talented athlete. I think the thing here is with Texas is, look, obviously, Samari Matthews, who visited Miami over the weekend, he comes in June 13th. Justice Fitzpatrick, who's at Georgia over the weekend, who I think is probably the front runner headed into June because of the relationships the family has with Kirby Smart. and Dan Schumann from the Minka Fitzpatrick recruitment. I think those guys are probably the top of the board. But at Travis Stevenson, Jeff Banks made a special trip through there and offered him Brooks County, obviously South Georgia, Quitman area, not an area that Texas is going to be stopping at a lot. So the fact that Jeff Banks was stopped by there on his way that day to see Hezzy Kent, I believe, at Brunswick. He started a day down in Brooks County. It says something for what the colleges are thinking of Travis Stevenson, because that's not the easiest trip to get to for the out-of-state schools or the in-state schools, really. So it tells you what they think of him, but where he's at, will there be a push? Look, he's a different official visitor for Texas because he hasn't been on campus before. That's different. They try to get all these kids on campus before they come in for OVs. He's a little different in that regard. So it's kind of, I call it a wild card, because this is a late May offer for Texas, a guy that they weren't really on early, and now they got him coming in, but they are definitely behind in this recruitment. And where does the push? Do they really push hard this weekend? And I think that kind of remains to be seen with a few guys on this list. Now, there's some, absolutely, but a few guys on this list, where does the push come from? Because you're kind of playing the game of having Samari Matthews in the next weekend, and seeing if you still are the favorite there, because you have Hayward Howard in the boat. Jermaine Bishop, I call him half a corner, half a receiver until you know what he's going to play. And then you have Yaheem Riley, who joined us on Longhorn livestream last night, for those that missed that. He had some internet connection issues, but he took about 8 minutes with us. He said last night, definitely starting his career at nickel, but wants a chance to play corner, kind of like Jahdae Barron. I think he's thinking like that. So it'll be interesting to see who Texas pushes for at that corner safety position coming up. We know Devon Benjamin, we know Justice Fitzpatrick, and we know Samari Matthews for sure.
All right, our next super chat, fellas, comes from Jackson. Thank you, Jackson. Do our major men's teams seem to lose more of their edge/tenacity in postseason compared to women's teams? Feels like the Lady Horns deal with adversity much better.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know about. Look, I think that there have been times when you wouldn't have said that about. You just said the opposite. I think it's just. I think that's very. It's the right word there. You may get that feeling, but I don't. I don't know why. I just don't. The men's golf team did better than the women's golf team. There's things there. I would say this: men's tennis team better than the women's tennis team, I think, this year. You get into a situation where, I don't know that any team at Texas is in a scenario or in a situation where you have to worry about men's versus women's. I just think it's an entire athletic department. And when you put so much on the line and you're really good across so many sports, that's like the outlier this year for men's sports, in my opinion, was men's basketball. Okay. They finished 14th in the SEC, right? Or tied for 13th or whatever the number was. There were some outliers in women's. I mean, I just feel like that's a little I just don't think that's true, personally.
Now, I mean, look, I think if you look at women's basketball, sometimes these things take time. It took Vic a few years to get over that Elite Eight hump to get to the Final Four, right? So I think it's all building process. I mean, I'm different than a lot of the people in the chat on baseball. I didn't expect Schloss to win the SEC in year one.
I didn't expect them to host regional.
Yeah, I mean, so the way it ended, who you lost to, that stings, obviously. And the way you played at the end stings, obviously. But I still think year one, he got a lot out of year one at Texas. Now, the question becomes, for all these coaches, doesn't matter who yards, what your build look like from there. I mean, and that's going to be the whole thing. Like for Schloss in the next couple of years, if you don't get to Omaha one of the next 2 years, then people are going to start not chirping for your job, but they're going to start chirping a little bit more in baseball. That's a level of expectation with Texas baseball. But I think year one, you win the SEC in year one, and people can say, well, SEC was overrated, blah, blah. People said the SEC ended up being overrated in basketball. They still won the national championship. It's had 2 teams in the Final Four. People are you're going to lose in talent neutralized situations in sports. I mean, not everybody's going to win. But I think I think he had a really good year one. Anytime you win a conference championship in your first year in one of the men's major sports, that's a pretty big accomplishment for me.
Well, I just think that's anecdotal evidence that he's putting out there that the question presumes, Jerry. I agree with you about Schloss and his run. But I'm just thinking to myself that, Texas football, in probably the most competitive sport in college sports, went to the semifinals. How's that not showing a level of resiliency or resolve? Baseball did what it did, even though it lost out late. Women's basketball certainly had a great run this year into the Final Four. Softball now in the Final Four as well. So I see where he's going, but men's swimming and diving did better than women's. I just think that it maybe the more visible sports, there's some value to that, but I think Texas also had a very rare year in women's sports. I mean, when's the last time Texas women went to the Final Four in basketball? 20 years ago? Yeah. What about women's softball? I guess Mike White's just got that program going in the right direction. So it's a little bit different, but I think that I don't think it's a men-women issue at all.
Yeah, I'm going to address this. Dave, actually, let's stop with the excuses. It's always been and will be. I said years 2 and years 3. We just have a difference of opinion, dude. If somebody wins a conference championship in their first year as a coach at a major school, they've had a good season. Did they have a great season? No, but they had a good season. What were they picked? 8th in the conference, Blake?
8.
So, guy won the SEC in year 1.
Yeah, the toughest baseball conference there is.
So in years 2 and 3, yeah, your expectations are to get to Omaha. If everybody's expectations is year 1 of a head coach is to win a national championship or get to a College World Series or get to a Final Four in basketball or get to a national championship in football, you're going to be you're not going to be happy with your coaches. It just doesn't work that way.
He doesn't have to be happy though. He gets
how long did it take Ryan Day? He started on third base. How long did it take him? Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Todd Golden didn't make the NCAA tournament his first year at Florida. Florida fans are like, this guy can't coach. I'm like, this guy's a tremendous coach. What are you talking about? It's not Adwater Instant Championship.
It'd be cool if it was.
It would be great. Nobody would ever lose, period. We'd have 330 basketball champions in Division I every year.
Jeff Carey with the super chat. Thank you, Jeff. He says, I like the 5-11 proposal for the college football playoffs. Y'all's thoughts?
We've talked about this a lot. I think it's probably better than some of the other things that have been put out there. I still don't like I don't think it's perfect. I don't think that they should give a 5th conference championship team a free access into the top 16. Because when you do that, you're also giving Notre Dame free access if they finish in the top 16. So that's really 2 teams that may or may not deserve it. Like Notre Dame probably would, but look, do you think Boise State was a top 16 team at the end of the year?
No.
Maybe. That's my point though, right, guys, is that I realize they're doing it to give everybody a shot and the additional FBS teams a free access, but I'm not so I like 4-12 better than I like 5-11. I'll just put it that way, but there are multiple. I mean, that's really nitpicky in my opinion.
Our next super chat this morning is for you, Jerry, from AS85. He says, donation for Jerry's waterproof melon OTF hat needs to look crisp on the trail.
I have two. I have one that this is the one that's made the trips to the high schools and on the football field. Yes. I have two though. I have another one that is probably I should wear for the video. You're 100% correct on that.
All right. And then another one for you, Jerry. This one from Joshy Manning. Thank you, Joshy. And he says, Jerry, out of all the guys visiting this weekend and next, are there any, or I guess I should say past weekend and this weekend, are there any that you would keep an eye on from a high perspective?
Bring up that official visit list again. So Xavier Crowell's announcing his decision on June 26th. I think Alabama leads Texas, and then he's going to visit Auburn, FSU. He just was at Georgia. Malachi Lee goes all the way through the 20th at Michigan, who has been considered very much a strong team in this recruitment. He was at Alabama last week. He's already visited Georgia, Texas, week off as of right now. Then Michigan on the 20th. Lamar Brown is announcing July 4th. James Johnson's not coming in this weekend. I think that would be the 20th. Dylan Berryman could be an earlier decision guy. Will Texas make the push there? Jamarian Carlton has OVs through June. He has a decision date of July 12th. Bojandra, I think, is an Oklahoma lean. His brother's committed there, but I'm not sure Texas pushes there. Devon Benjamin, I think, will play out a while right now. He's announcing his official visits the week of, kind of leading up to. He was at Michigan last weekend. He's at Texas this weekend. We'll see if some other news pops on him. Travis Stevenson's going to go all the way. Hayward Howard obviously committed. Your specialist for sure right now. Could somebody pop unexpectedly? Yeah, but a lot of these guys already have their dates out there when they're going to announce their decisions, or they're very early in their OV process.
All right, Bobby, before we get to our last few questions of the day, can you tell everyone about Longhorn Wealth Management Group one last time?
Yeah, absolutely. As a proud UT alum, John Donovan of Longhorn Wealth Management has served on the Dallas, Texas chapter Texas Exes board for 15 years and is now helping lead the build-out of the Collin County Texas Exes chapter. John was excited to see such a great turnout of 2027 football recruiting talent on campus this past weekend for UT's elite camp. The future looks bright in that regard. John wants to match this excitement about UT football's future by offering all OTF fans a free 90-minute private consultation with John to learn how working with a certified financial planner can help you build and manage your own financial future and discover how to truly maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy with John's help. Take advantage of this free 90-minute consultation. Call John and the Longhorn Wealth team 972-707-4900 or go online, www.longhornwealth.net to schedule your meeting today, 972-707-4900. Hook them from John and the Longhorn Wealth team.
Thank you for that, Bobby. And as I said, we got a few more before we get out of here this morning, gentlemen. We're going to start with Dante's. Thank you, Dante. He says, should I feel guilty about being a little happy that our baseball team lost to UTSA so Jonah Williams can focus getting on the football field?
No. And here's what I would say to people. Don't feel guilty about how you feel about sports, man. I mean, some people don't like baseball, and I have friends on my group chat. They could care less what Texas does in baseball. They could care less what they do in basketball or softball or whatever. Don't feel guilty about that. I mean, you love the teams you love. And I will say this. Sports are meant to be fun. So extract all the fun you can out of them. I don't have any problem with that. I mean, I like UT baseball, but that doesn't mean everybody else has to. So that's where I'm at, dude.
And
man, Jackson Miles has a great super chat coming.
We're going to get to that one in just a second. I got to take this one from Longhorn Frenzy. Thank you, Longhorn Frenzy. He says, Bobby, when does SEC Media Day start? To me, that's really the start of the football season. The coverage that y'all provided last year was outstanding. Hook 'em.
It starts July 15th through the 17th or 18th. And we're going there as a crew.
Yeah.
Got a VRBO for everybody. That's what
Bobby's got 3 extra rooms for the chat. We'll super chat it off.
Y'all want to come and help us take notes, please let us know. In all seriousness, I think 5 of us are going to be going, and we will have a good time. I just hope, I will say this. I hope that things are more settled for the SEC media days than what they were down in Destin for the spring meetings last week.
Coaches need answers.
It felt like we were inundated with talk of house settlement, of college football playoff. There wasn't enough SEC talk for me out of spring meetings. And I hope all of that is done and over with by the time we get to mid-July.
Bobby, that's a great point. Think if Nick Saban is on at ESPN all for 3 days talking about house settlement instead of SEC football. That's a loss. We need to get this stuff behind us as much as it can be and get focused on the SEC season and college football season, because I think it's going to be – look, I love where college football's at. I know now that NIL part, all that stuff's a little different for me and how it's all going to work out. But I'm saying the sport of football, I absolutely love it right now because we talked about it last year. NC State, those type of schools, and it turned out to be SMU, right? Or it turned out to be Boise State. We talked about how these teams have hope now in college football. Their seasons can actually mean something other than a bowl game and actually have, in their mind, have a chance to go compete for a national championship, which wasn't there really. Who's going to be those teams this year? Is who's going to be the Indiana this year? Which, how awesome was that for Indiana that they made a college football playoff, no matter how it ended, that they felt like they had a reason in football for the first time in a long time. Is it going to be Illinois? Their fan base is saying this. They're like, we have a reason to be excited about a football season at the University of Illinois, when for years it was just to talk about which Big Ten team was going to the 14 playoff or the BCS, and we were never going to be in that conversation. I think college football is in an awesome place, and when it goes to 16, it'll be even better. But I just hope – I totally agree, Bobby. I hope by the time SEC Media Days rolls around, this is 99% football talk, because there's great players in this conference. There's great coaching hot seat situations to follow. There's coaches trying to get over the hump at their schools. There's great talent in this conference. I mean, 15, 16 guys in the mock drafts again in the first round this year. I mean, there are so many things that are going to be great to talk about. We're going to be talking about it all. I'm not, Bobby, we're not going to let house settlement and all that outweigh what we're there to talk about. If we can.
I agree. Just ready for it.
2 more. I think everybody is. 2 more super chats before we get out of here, fellas. And let's take the one that Jerry was actually talking about. This one from Jackson Miles.
This is good for the chat.
What school would y'all like to see Texas schedule a series with in football? I'll start with Florida State.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Yeah, so I want –
You ever been to Tallahassee? Not exactly a garden spot. I mean –
I'm just being like, it'd be cool from a team perspective, and they never played each other.
Bobby, you got one?
Tallahassee's not exactly this, beautiful place. I just want to put it out there. It's inland.
So outside the SEC, I think the here. I would like to throw back. I have a crazy one. Let's throw back. It would never happen. We need to do a throwback, play at Hawaii, and have Kirk Herbstreit as the sideline announcer via Ricky Williams' freshman year, like 97-ish. But no, I would say if it's me, I wouldn't mind UCLA. People are saying USC. A UCLA wouldn't be bad.
I think USC is the obvious one, frankly. Nebraska would be good. Oregon, I think Nebraska is more that long-term blue blood historical thing, and plus there is some history there between the two schools. But I would go USC, Nebraska.
Penn State is a good one from the chat.
Yeah, Penn State would be good.
Arizona State wouldn't be bad because it would be the timing of having a great playoff game against them. If you could pop a home and home with them, that might be fun.
What about a cooler at something that's cooler in the month of August and September? Like, I know this is not Virginia Tech at night would be good.
Cool.
But you'd also want to win. So how about like Boston College?
Who wouldn't want to see? Hey, who wouldn't want to see Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson on the sidelines at DKO? North Carolina is your winner. Jordan Hudson would take over for Belichick on Craig Way's pregame. She'd be like, "I got this, Bill. You go over there," and she just did that. There's too much with North Carolina's the winner.
Can you imagine Arizona State game in September? It's got to be 100. Oh my goodness.
Grass field.
Notre Dame has happened before. Yeah.
Jenny Burton wants to go to Vegas and play UNLV at Caesar's Palace.
Yeah, she basically put in UNLV in Hawaii.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, a lot of history there.
Isaiah Stewart. Oh, Isaiah Stewart. This is interesting. Home and home with Georgia Tech for Georgia recruiting. I like it. I like where his head's at right there. That's a good one. Wisconsin is a great college town for that person that said that. I went up there when Texas was in the Sweet 16, TJ Ford's freshman year, Royals all their sophomore year. And it was at Madison. They played at the Kohl Center. That 2-point loss to Oregon, and Kansas, Illinois was on the other side. That is a really cool college town. Is Madison, Wisconsin, for sure.
Lots of Nebraska and Miami's in this one for sure.
I think Jenny's winning.
Yeah, UNLV Hawaii. That would be my wife.
All right. Our final one for today comes from Trace Little. Thank you, Trace. And he says, outside of Texas athletics, what's your favorite thing to do? I don't think we asked y'all about you.
Man, my answer is bad. Keep going.
You watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's why.
All of it.
Oh, gosh.
Are you hooked on Mormon Wives now too, Jerry?
No, the Love Hotel.
Jerry is a bad TV fan.
The Love Hotel's
all
interesting.
Bad TV. Basically.
The Love Hotel's interesting
Oh,
on Bravo.
What's the one you got me watching? It was actually pretty good on TLC.
Bailing Out Loud.
Yes. I like it.
Oh, Ryan Davis, he brings FAU to the table. You know.
Boca. As far as me hanging out, I love hanging out with my wife and kids when they're home. They're home right now for the little bit of the summer. So I just like hanging out, doing my thing. I am a homebody, but I'm not a homebody because I'm always going somewhere for either work or whatever. But typically I just like hanging out with my wife and kids, man.
I did watch a little Sirens on Netflix this weekend. A Bull said Below Deck. I have watched Below Deck before, yeah.
See, all of them. If it's bad TV, Jerry Hamilton is tuned in.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right, guys. That's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by John Donovan and Longhorn Wealth Management Group. I want to thank John, along with Huel, Omaha Steaks, and Gooder, and Pesty, all for sponsoring today's show. Bobby, what you got later today for us?
Jeff Howe and CJ Vogler are going to get together for a little Longhorn Weekly this afternoon. Then Rod Babers and Bob Shipley are back with the Winning Drive this afternoon. Jerry and I take your recruiting questions tonight at 7:00 on Talking Ball. So make sure you bring those. We'll be talking not only about some of the offers that went out this weekend and getting some more information of guys that got offered, but we'll also be looking ahead to the June 6th weekend as well as the following weekend, June 13th, because there's quite a bit of big-time guys coming in.
Wait, Dave Atch, I didn't know. We need to know more about this. Texas.
Yeah, I was going to look into that after the show and see exactly what you're talking about.
That's pretty cool.
So, all right. Also, softball, 11 a.m. Don't forget that against Tennessee in the semifinals. It's going to be a good one. And then, Jerry, you said if they lose, they play at what time?
1:30 back-to-back. Both.
Okay.
So today it's Texas, Tennessee, 11 a.m. If they need to play game 2, 1:30. Then the night game is Texas Tech, Oklahoma. If Oklahoma beats Tech, they'll play the second game right after. So you will have your national championship match up after tonight, no matter how long it takes.
It'll be interesting if they have to pitch 2 pitchers today.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams. If it goes to a second game, do they just throw their arms out today? If it goes to a second game, that's tough.
It's tough. Pickens has thrown a lot of pitches for Tennessee.
So is T.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oklahoma, you know, it's big. Obviously, Oklahoma, obviously you have to win the first game. But if you get the first game, you put a lot of pressure on Tech. And Tennessee would do the same with Texas. If the people who are down to their elimination get the first game, man, that amps up the pressure in that second game so much. Texas has played well against Tennessee this year, for what it's worth.
All right. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. Hope you all have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you next time.
Hook up.